Children are the heart of our love, and love translates to protection, and mostly when we have kids, that is where we direct most of our love. Now, in Uganda today, the Ebola virus is spreading, and many parents and children are in panic in that country, and the discussion is, how are we going to fight this off? The schools have been closed early, and it seems that it's coming in our direction. Now, with all the porous boundaries and the close proximity with which we are to Uganda as Kenyans, the question I'm asking Prof today is, are we ready to protect our children from yet another threat of a pandemic that is in the air barely 2 years after we failed to do the same with the coronavirus pandemic, which many say we just got lucky with? Welcome to the show. This is Let's Talk Love, where we have discussions of family and love with Professor Herman Manyora, Dr. Love. How are you doing, Prof?
Fine.
Well, I've just laid out the problem out there for our view and for you. There is a problem in Uganda, the Ebola virus, which we know has crossed over from the DRC. And while that threat has not really grown to huge proportions, reports are saying that children have died in schools, and Museveni has directed that the schools be closed early. The question I'm asking you is, what lessons have we learned as parents, as Kenya, from the 2020 pandemic to protect our kids in our crowded schools, in our, you know the situation we have in our schools today, if Ebola was to cross over through the porous border?
I think as far as Corona is concerned, I think to me you got it wrong.
All right.
When you say we did little or nothing, I don't think we did. We
did a lot, but really, Prof, if it was to hit us like it did,
no. I'm getting in terms of managing and control. And
yes,
we did better than even the WHO expected us to do, and other world powers.
All right,
the government did a lot. In fact, we overdid some things.
We overdid
some things, yeah. And protecting the children in terms of closing schools. People are saying, no, schools can't be closed this long. But we did it. And
we closed schools, I remember.
Very tight programs for our schools in the interest of our children. What we have not learned is what is long term.
Long term.
And this is what now Ebola introduces. And even before you go to long term, even the love we have for country, and for the people of the country. When Ebola broke in West Africa, Kenyan health personnel volunteered. You know, to go there is not something you can go because it's a job. There are people volunteered. I remember one of two such a people who were my students at the University of Nairobi. They were nurses.
Right.
Who are now coming for bachelor's degree.
And they went there to handle it?
They went there as nurses. When they came back, everybody thought it was a matter of common sense that the government will use this as a rapid response team, which it will build into a serious big team. But what happened?
Nothing was done.
They were not even hired into government. Government didn't even hire them.
After handling Ebola?
Yes, they just were left. I stand to be corrected. Director of Medical Service or Minister, come and correct me. I wish it is wrong. But the last I checked, they were just roaming the streets, bringing that kind of experience to the country. And we treat jobs just like anything. Now, the long-term thing we have not learned is mankind faces severe dangers.
All the time.
The unknown. Who would have known Ebola will come?
No one.
Who would have known Corona will come? Or who knows what will come tomorrow? I tell my students, from the way I see and my understanding of history and evolution, the African man, the African race could be wiped out of the face of the world.
Really?
Because we don't think. We don't learn from anything. If African governments, let's stick with our own government, had learned about Corona, they would have learned every country ought to be prepared
for itself
by dedicating resources, sufficient resources for research, so that you are at the cutting edge of knowledge. When something comes, you have a sufficient scientists who are well endowed, well supported. We have constructed vaccine centers, research centers. Camry has been boosted. We rely on America and the rest. We have boosted these people. Universities have been given research money because you don't know what will come tomorrow. to that extent, we are not prepared. We have not learned anything.
We just react.
We just react to situations. And that's why I say, who knows whether the next virus could only target the black skin?
That could be bad.
At that time, we all die. Because these guys were engaging the gear to produce vaccines and cure for corona because it was not sparing anybody. No part of the world would be safe if the other was not safe. And that's why they gave us vaccines and everything else. Of course, beside the vaccine apartheid and so on and so forth. But if tomorrow the problem we have is skin deep, and it can only attack a black. You know, there are issues that are more prevalent among certain races, for example. There's already a scientific fact. Certain diseases attack certain age groups more than other age groups, okay? They attacked certain diseases or problems face male more than female and vice versa. And there are also issues that make the black person more vulnerable than the white person and vice versa. So it's not unthinkable that tomorrow you could have a virus that has the destruction capacity of Ebola and Corona combined times 10, but only affecting the black race, the black skin, because of pigmentation. We will all die. That's why I think we don't love ourselves much. We don't love our race. We want to be dependent on people for even very small things. You know, I was so shocked when I calculated the cost of vaccines for corona. And Uhuru was here talking about things and everybody, I said, God, what's wrong with Africans? It was so little money. It's at the time of corona that I realized when America was withdrawing its support for WHO, World Health Organization, I was shocked. Actually, I didn't know. WHO is operating on such a small budget that is perhaps less than the money State House uses.
Really?
It's very little money.
And the entire of Africa.
Kenya alone can support the WHO without feeling it. It's little money. I mean, maybe I didn't calculate the figures well. Sometimes you read in the media they have left a 0 or 2, or they have put shillings there instead of dollars. But what I saw is what America was what American withdrawals meant to the WHO, and therefore when I went to look at the budget of WHO, something even Kenya can support. We don't love ourselves enough.
We don't love ourselves, and we don't take our public health very seriously.
Yes, yes.
And again, I'm asking you this because COVID was so serious, and you said we went over and we did all that stuff that was more than most of our neighbors did.
Yes.
But Ebola, as you know, Prof, is more dangerous than COVID.
Yeah.
It's more lethal in every way than COVID. And I have said again, our school system is a mess. Yes, we tried to fight it off, but our school system, it's crowded.
You know, we played, you are right,
all over.
We played with Corona. And
We did.
We ate the money meant for COVID, that KEMSA scandal. County governments had money set aside for fighting Corona.
We made billions.
This plastic jerrycans for washing hands. You only insert a tap. Something, if you went to buy yourself, it is 250. County governments were 6,000, 10,000. We play even with danger. That's where I say
we didn't seem to learn anything from that pandemic.
Yeah. So if we approached Ebola like that, we would be wiped out of the face of this world.
And Ebola is tough on children, Prof.
Yeah. So do we have sufficient love for our children and ourselves and our society to be able to look at mitigation factors seriously, to be able to stop the thieving when it comes to serious matters like Ebola? You know, the people who are selling face masks at 5,000 per mask, you know, that sort of thing, if you translate it into Ebola, and if Ebola has come, then we are looking at danger. I'm not sure. I haven't followed.
Yes.
I've been a little lazy and have issues.
Follow it up.
Following.
There are reports from the BBC and everyone. It seems to be a panic situation.
Yes.
But let's finish with this note, Prof, with you giving me a scenario, a hypothetical scenario. If you were calling the shots on our public health, and it's pre-pandemic, COVID has come and gone, we have survived. What measures do you think we ought to have taken in terms of fighting and protecting ourselves against those
The world
pandemics?
has become a small place.
Yes.
We can learn from how others do it. We can learn from how others do it. We can also set aside sufficient resources for research and management of disease. But above all, we will need to sit down with the health workers, healthcare workers, and we listen to their suggestions, to their concerns.
Something we're not doing now.
We don't do that. We have no time for them. And yet we expect them to handle very serious situations. So doctors can watch patients die because of lack of something like gloves, just something worth 50 shillings, 30 shillings.
Love.
So we need to listen to our healthcare workers. We need to learn from the best in the world. We need to set aside resources to deal with the preventive health, preventive measures, community health, the Cuban style. It saves a lot. But we are not willing to do things that are in the interest of the country. Everybody seems to be doing things that land a shilling in their pocket, which is where the problem is.
All right. That's the problem right there. We've had a discussion with Prof on public health, pandemics, and just how prepared we are not to fight the next pandemic that comes our way. This is Let's Talk Love. My name is Kimathi. I'll see you next time.
One love, one heart. Let's get together and feel alright. Hear the children